Your first solo trip can feel like the ultimate dream, right up until the fear kicks in. That mix of freedom and anxiety stops a lot of people from ever booking. But here's the truth. Your first solo trip does not have to feel overwhelming. It doesn't have to be brave or reckless. It just needs to start with the right destination. Today, I'm breaking down the 6 best countries for your first solo trip. Ranked on what actually matters: safety, ease of travel, budget, atmosphere, and how confident the destination will make you feel as a solo traveler. And I'll be sharing the one money rule that can save your entire trip. Stay with me. Before we get into the list, here's the framework I use to build it. Because not all popular travel destinations are right for first-time solo travelers. 5 things matter most. Safety, not just crime stats, but how safe it feels to navigate alone. Traveler infrastructure, hostels, transport, and tourist routes that support independent travel. Social ease, can you meet people naturally? Budget, can you make mistakes without financial panic? And the experience itself, does the destination still feel meaningful? Not just easy. Every country on this list scores well across all 5. What differs is which one matters most to you. Let's get into it. If your biggest concern is safety, Iceland is one of the strongest starting points you can choose for your first solo trip. This is a destination that lets you fully relax into the experience. Instead of spending energy looking over your shoulder or second-guessing every decision, you can focus entirely on why you came: the landscapes. And Iceland does not do ordinary. Waterfalls that look unreal in photos, black sand beaches, glaciers you can walk on, geothermal lagoons to soak in, roads that cut through another planet, and in winter, the northern lights. For a first-time solo traveler, the win here is simplicity. If you drive, the ring road routes are logical and the road trip culture is strong. You'll naturally cross paths with other travelers at the same stops. If driving solo feels like too much, day tours from Reykjavik cover all the major highlights with no planning pressure. Budget-wise, Iceland isn't the cheapest on this list, around £80 to £120 per day. But the reward-to-stress ratio is exceptional. You can arrive nervous and leave feeling genuinely transformed. Portugal is one of the easiest recommendations for first-time solo travelers, especially if you want Europe without the budget pressure that comes with it. It has that rare combination: charm, safety, affordability, and warmth, all 4 working together. You can spend the day exploring beautiful old streets, eat incredibly well on £10 or £12 all in, rely on clean and reliable public transport, and still feel like your money is stretching further than it would almost anywhere else in Western Europe. Porto is the slower, moodier alternative. Photogenic, ideal for quiet mornings and wine tasting in centuries-old cellars. And the Algarve delivers dramatic sea-stack coastlines that justify the journey on their own. But what makes Portugal genuinely special for solo travelers is the social infrastructure. The hostel culture is outstanding. Group dinners, walking tours, surf day trips, pub nights, these are woven into the experience at most mid-range hostels. You don't have to force social interaction. It happens naturally and consistently. If your biggest fear is feeling lonely, Portugal is one of the most effective places in the world to prove to yourself that solo travel doesn't have to feel isolating. You can have full independence all day and still end up sharing stories with people from 5 different countries over dinner. If you want your first solo trip to feel like a full life experience, New Zealand is hard to beat. This is the destination for people who want space: physical, mental, emotional, the kind of scenery that makes you stop mid-sentence and just look. And crucially, it's a country that is entirely built for independent travel. Queenstown is the headline act for adrenaline. Bungee jumping, skydiving, jet boating, paragliding. But New Zealand isn't only for thrill seekers. You can hike some of the most beautiful terrain on Earth, cruise Milford Sound at dawn, or simply drive between spectacular viewpoints at your own pace. For solo travelers specifically, the backpacker culture is one of New Zealand's genuine strengths. People are there to move, explore, and share. A hike becomes a conversation. A campervan park becomes a community. You're almost never really alone unless you want to be. New Zealand costs a bit more than the other destinations on this list. Budget around £70 to £110 a day, or less if you hire a campervan and cook your own food. But what it gives you in return is not just memories. It's a new understanding of what you're capable of on your own. Japan is one of the most rewarding solo travel destinations in the world, and it earns that reputation for a reason most people don't expect. It's not just that Japan is safe, though it is, and it's not just that the transport system is extraordinary, though it absolutely is. It's that Japan is one of the very few countries where solo life is built into the culture. And for a first-time solo traveler, that changes everything. Because one of the hidden stresses of solo travel isn't just safety, it's self-consciousness. The worry about eating alone, the discomfort of being visibly on your own. Japan dissolves that almost immediately. Solo dining is completely normal. Quiet independence is respected. Nobody makes you feel like you're missing something. Yes, the language can feel intimidating at first, but public transport signage is bilingual across most of the major routes. Google Maps works brilliantly, and the rhythm of navigating Japanese cities becomes intuitive faster than you'd expect. Tokyo delivers sensory overload in the best sense. Neon-lit crossings, hidden ramen spots, centuries-old shrines beside glass skyscrapers. Kyoto slows everything down. Temples, bamboo groves, a more reflective pace. And a night in a ryokan with a private onsen is one of the most peaceful solo travel experiences you can have anywhere. Budget, roughly £55 to £85 per day, including accommodation, transport, and food. Invest in a Shinkansen rail pass before you leave the UK. It's one of the best value travel purchases you'll make on this trip. If you want your first solo trip to feel genuinely alive, not just comfortable, but electric, Costa Rica delivers that in a way very few destinations can. Rainforests, volcanoes, Pacific coast beaches, wildlife around every corner, and that pura vida energy, a cultural attitude of ease and gratitude that makes every interaction feel lighter. It sounds like a cliché until you're there and you actually feel it. Costa Rica works particularly well for first-time solo travelers because the tourist circuit is well established. That means the destination still feels adventurous and wild because it genuinely is, but it isn't overwhelming to navigate. Shared shuttles connect the major stops. Tours and activities are easy to find and book. Accommodation ranges from eco-lodges in the jungle to beach hostels with active social scenes. For solo travelers worried about the social side, surf camps, eco-lodges, yoga retreats, and group excursions make meeting like-minded people feel natural, especially because the type of person drawn to Costa Rica tends to be active, outdoorsy, and open. Budget around £50 to £80 per day, less if you're comfortable in hostel dorms. If budget is a real consideration, and for most first-time solo travelers it is, Vietnam deserves to be at the very top of your list. At around £25 to £45 per day, including accommodation, food, and transport, Vietnam gives you more genuine travel experience per pound than almost any other destination in the world. And that budget breathing room matters more than people realize when you're traveling alone for the first time. You can afford to make mistakes. You can afford to stay an extra day in a place you love. You can afford the spontaneous boat trip or the cooking class without doing mental arithmetic at the checkout. The natural north to south route is one of the things that makes Vietnam exceptional for solo travel. There is a traveler trail, and that trail means you are constantly crossing paths with people on similar journeys. Hanoi is the entry point. Chaotic, fascinating, intensely alive. Ha Long Bay is the overnight boat cruise that belongs on every list of things to do before you die. Hoi An is the romantic midpoint. Lantern-lit streets, tailors who can make you something in 24 hours, beach access, and a pace that makes you want to stay twice as long as you planned. And Ho Chi Minh City brings the energy back up. Speed, contrast, rooftop bars, and a city in visible, electric motion. Vietnam is not a destination for travelers who need everything smooth and predictable. But if you are curious, flexible, and excited by the idea of learning through the journey, it is one of the most rewarding first solo trips you can take, at a price that makes it genuinely accessible. Be honest about what you need from this trip, and the right destination will be obvious. Right, I promised you the #1 solo travel rule that can save your entire trip. Here it is. Never, ever rely on a single way to access your money. Carry 3 things: a primary card, a backup card from a completely different bank, and a small amount of emergency cash in local currency. And critically, do not keep them all in the same place. Primary card in your wallet, backup card in your bag or hidden in your luggage, emergency cash in a passport holder or hotel safe. 3 separate locations, 3 separate access points. If your wallet is stolen, your trip doesn't end. If one card gets flagged and blocked by your bank, you don't spend a night in a panic. If an ATM eats your card, you have options. That one system, which costs you nothing to set up, is the difference between a bad hour and a ruined trip. 3 cards, 3 locations. That's your safety net. If this made solo travel feel more possible, hit like and subscribe. I put out practical travel guides every week designed to take the overwhelm out of planning. Drop a comment. Which of these 6 countries would you choose first? Your answers shape what I make next. And remember, your first solo trip doesn't have to be perfect. It just has to happen.